Put the hip shit on the shelf, cause the way the real rap is being real myself. But I haven't seen the glory of the coming of the left. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help. It's time to switch it up, put the hip shit on the shelf, cause the way the real rap is being real myself. But I haven't seen the glory of the coming of the left. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help. Money, money, money. All you got is money. Wealthy. Like Kanye West said, having money is not everything, not having it is. Deuteronomy 8:18 says God gives us the ability to create wealth. No, it's the love of money that's wrong. You don't like money so much, right? He doesn't go to work. Yes, I do think about I'm just trying to leave a legacy for money. That's not everything, but when you got it, you can do some cool stuff. And now, your host for Talking Money in the Morning, financial health mentor to the working class, Mr. H Cortez.
Good morning, and welcome to Talking Money in the Morning live with your main man, H Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the working class, where I do my absolute best to bring practical yet proven wealth building strategies to working class men and women all over this great nation of ours. And guys, as always, it is truly an honor, a privilege, and a blessing to come before you guys each and every morning, guys. I look at the stream and I see the same faces tuning in every morning. Says you guys appreciate what I do, and I appreciate you. Today we're talking about the one thing needed in the Black community that can change our situation around for the good. And it's only one thing, guys. So we're going to get into that a little bit. So we're letting Facebook build up the stream, but do me a huge favor. If you're checking us out on YouTube, then I want you to grab the link to the stream on YouTube and then share it in your favorite social media outlets, wherever you like to share links, Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever. I'd appreciate that. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button so that you get notifications as we continue to put good content up to help you in the way of building wealth, business success, bringing prosperity into your life, mind shifting information to challenge you so that you can then challenge the status quo and have something better for yourself. I apologize, guys. I forgot to mute out my old phone here. There we go. Okay. And wow, what did I do? Resume. There we go. All right. And then if you're checking us out on Facebook, then I want you to do the same thing. I want you to share the stream to your timelines, because this is an important topic for those in your circle. And I know sometimes you might share the stream and people in your circle don't watch because they're not concerned with building wealth, right? They're not concerned with building a business. They're trying to do their thing, their career thing, and their job thing. But this is a topic that is universal in its messaging. So share the stream on Facebook if you will. And then if you haven't already followed the stream in Facebook so that you get the notifications, then you want to go ahead and do that. So every time I go live, because I go live through, I do something called midday motivation throughout the day. And I also do something called the retirement report, which is kind of a random thought that I have now that I have my time freedom and I'm kind of, moving about my day. I witnessed some weird things that I would have never seen if I was working 9 to 5. But, the world is strange between 9 and 5 if you're outside the job and you're just out and about and you just see some weird stuff. So sometimes the retirement report comes out, a random thought throughout the day. So make sure you subscribe and get the notifications. But let's get right to it. We're talking about the one thing needed in the Black community, guys. But before we do, as always, I have to let you know exactly who this show is for. Just in case you stumbled on the stream on accident and you just decided to check in and you don't know what you're in for, let me let you know who the show is for. This show, my friend, is for risers and grinders only. If you're ready to get up, get out, and get something this morning, this show is for you. This show is for those who want to build a legacy, build an empire, build a dynasty for their families and to get money as an issue out of the way. This show is for you. If you like me, when you laid down last night, you were thinking to yourself, what can I do tomorrow? What can I do next week, next month, next year, the next 10 years to ensure that my children's children's children or want to be proud to bear my name, then this is your show. If you are the type of person who's got the desire to build wealth, you got the discipline to build wealth, maybe you lack a game plan, maybe you need a coach, a mentor, maybe you need some strategies, maybe you need some tools, maybe you need an environment, maybe you need a different network of friends to associate with to help you along that way, then this is your show, because this is what we bring to the table each and every morning, Monday through Friday, on Talking Money in the Morning Line. Now, on the other hand, who is the show not for, right? This show ain't for people who are sitting back, tripping off every move Donald Trump makes, talking about can he fix the economy instead of focusing on your economy. This ain't your show. If you're the type of person that think money is evil, capitalism is a dirty word, this ain't your show, man. If you got that weird relationship with money, chances are you're going to repel money away from you instead of attract money to you. So if that's you, this is not your show. If you're one of those people who are super pessimistic and all you can do is complain about the problems and never seek solutions, this show is not for you, because we are very solutions oriented here on this show. We literally just love to come up with solutions to fix our problems instead of constantly talking about the cotton picking problem. We got to start developing some solutions. But let's be clear. I have no problem with you not wanting to be wealthy. I have no problem with you being a pessimist. I only have a problem with you having a problem with me wanting to be wealthy. See, one thing about a pessimist is they can't stand an optimist. So just because you see the negative in everything and I see the positive in everything, that tends to rub them the wrong way. Just because you're content and confident and comfortable where you are, I'm not. I'm striving to have more and greater things. Why does that rub you the wrong way? And as I tell you each and every morning, if you've never seen a future billionaire before, and that's billion with a B, then I want you to take a screenshot. I want you to hold me to it and watch me work over the next 5 to 10 years. And I want to show you how simple it is to build wealth if you do the one thing that we need to be doing in the Black community. Today's show is brought to you by All Amateur Sports Network. Guys, if you are business owners and you want a creative way to get your brand in front of tens of thousands of people this holiday season, then I want you to consider a marketing package through All Amateur Sports Network. We're covering one of the largest and most popular high school basketball tournaments in the St. Louis metro area, and everything that we do has an online marketing and a digital marketing tint to it. So if you have products that can be shipped via the web, you have digital products that can be downloaded and things of that nature, even if you're not in the St. Louis area, that's a good place for you to brand and market, because a lot of you guys know that I have a branding and marketing background. So when you buy a sponsorship package, which start at $50 and go up from there, a sponsorship package, then I'm going to take your ad and infuse it into all of the things that we're doing on the network. We're doing pre-game, post-game, halftime shows. We got halftime festivities. We've got step and repeats for pictures and all that kind of stuff. So you can actually have banners hung throughout the gymnasium. We can really pump your business if that's something that you're interested in. And like I said, the smallest package starts at $50 and go up from there. If you were to purchase a premium, bronze, silver, or gold package, I will then give you an upgrade to the next package at no additional cost. So you could get a bronze package for the price of a premium package. So I just want to throw that out there. If you need that information, just inbox me, give me a call, 314-874-6887. Go check out the website and see what we're already putting in place, our coverage of this tournament at allamateursportsnetwork.com. Or you can give me send an email to info@allamateursportsnetwork.com. Now, let's get on to the goodness of the goodness, guys. What is the one thing that we need in the Black community? And let me give my disclaimer and preface this with by saying, guys, I don't want this to come off as me talking down to anyone. I don't want this to come off as me not see. I want you guys to remember everything that I say. You know, my girl India.Arie in one of her songs says, "The words that come out of your mouth, you're the first to hear." So when I'm on this show live, I'm not talking to you guys. You guys are hearing me talk to myself. That's what's happening. So I want you to understand that I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm talking to me, right? And these are the things that I know. This is the one thing I know I can do more of if I want to change my community. And my man said in the Biggie Smalls movie, can't change the world till we change ourselves, right? So I can't change my community unless I change myself, because changing myself allows me to see the community differently. Let me say that again. The way you change the world, the way you change your community is you change yourself, because every time you change yourself, then everything that you see from that point forward, you see differently. And that's how you change the world. Some of us need to start seeing our community a little bit differently if we're actually going to create change in the community. Thank you, niece. Some of us, we got to start doing and seeing things differently, but you don't see the world differently unless you change something in you that causes you to see the world differently. So there's one thing that we need in the Black community more than anything else now in particular, and this one thing we used to have. It's the one thing that has kept the community together for the last 500 years. And allowed us to endure everything that we've endured in order to be able to stand today. But this one thing is kind of gone by the wayside. It's not gone by the wayside. We still have it. We're just not using it the way that our ancestors used it. We're not using it the way that grandma and grandpa used it. So we're using it for some dumb stuff, man. We're using it for some dumb stuff, right? And what is the one thing that we could use in the Black community that we need more than anything else? That we used to have in abundance, a tool that we use that helped us get through, that helped us get by, that helped us endure the hardships that we faced as we came through Reconstruction, and we built communities that they tore down. And as we came through Jim Crow, as we had to endure all of that to get the crumbs from the table of Main Society, as we had to get through, there's one thing that allowed us to be who we are and get through what we had to get through to be able to stand today. But that one thing we're no longer using in a positive way. We're using it negatively for dumb stuff. Again, it's one word, guys. One word. You guys ready? The one thing we need in the Black community more than anything else is sacrifice. The one thing we need in the Black community more than anything else is sacrifice. All of our issues go away if one generation will collectively make the tough choices to sacrifice a handful of things in order to make sure that the generation below them is straight, set up, got the head on straight, thinking properly and thinking correctly. All we have to do is sacrifice, guys. That's all. That's what's missing, right? But when I say we have it, we're just doing some dumb stuff with it. We do sacrifice all the time, but we sacrifice for dumb stuff, right? We will sacrifice our time and our energy to slave, to make money. Sometimes we sacrifice our energy to work overtime on a job so we can go buy a $400 bag. So we know what sacrifice is. We know what it means to sacrifice, but that's not how our grandparents handled sacrifice. That's not how our ancestors handled sacrifice. If we're going to fix our communities, we're going to have to, as a generation, make some tough sacrifices, man, to fix some of the things that we've broken because we were unwilling to sacrifice. And again, I'm looking at myself because I'm talking to myself, guys. You guys are just hearing me talk to myself, right? What are some of the things that we need to sacrifice? My son is barely hanging on to a passing grade in algebra, right? And And the reason that is because over the last 4 months of this school year, I haven't been able to sacrifice the time away from my business to sit down and get him the help that he needs, right? So yes, he owns a tremendous amount of responsibility in and of himself to make sure that he's doing what he needs to do in the classroom. But as his parent, I have to take and own some of that responsibility for not taking time away from what I was doing to make sure that he has the help that he needs, to make sure that he's staying on task, to make sure he's staying focused, because that is my job. So one thing that we are unwilling at this point to sacrifice in lieu of getting a benefit for the community at large and the grand scheme of things, we don't want to sacrifice our time. Right? We don't want to sacrifice our time to help the generation below us. But instead of sacrificing our time, we run our cotton picking mouths about how the next generation is run amok, how these babies are raising babies, and how these kids are hanging out on street corners and all that. But nobody's willing to sacrifice their time and say, hey, young brother, hey, young sister, here's some things that you can do to get the same amount of money in a positive way, and you don't have to put your life on the line. You need a coach, a mentor. You need somebody in your life that can help you, guide you, and mold you. Here's a team of people who are willing to pour into you if you're willing to get out of these streets and do things in a different way, follow your passions, your dreams. We're willing to help you because we're going to sacrifice our time to look after you and make sure that you stay on the straight and narrow, right? Sacrifice is all it takes, guys, for us to turn our community around. We can turn this thing around on a dime today, right? Sacrifice our time, right? We definitely ain't trying to sacrifice our money for nothing positive, right? See, in days of old, our forefathers and our ancestors knew what real value was. So they didn't sacrifice their money to buy some stuff, right? They would sacrifice their money to buy real value. They would sacrifice their money to buy land. They would sacrifice their money to buy property. They would sacrifice their money to buy tools that they would need to do jobs to make more money. They would sacrifice their money to build wealth and feed their family. Now we know people who will take the money that's supposed to be spent to buy nourishing food and nutritious food for the children, and they take that money and they go buy stuff with it, whether it's an alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it is this addiction to consumerism that we have, whether it is taking money to out to eat and all of these things. See, we got a problem with chasing status instead of chasing our legacy. We got a problem with chasing the Joneses instead of chasing the Thorntons, right? I shouldn't be chasing the Joneses, keeping up with them. I should be making sure that whatever I'm doing is making sure that the Thornton name is synonymous with wealth. That's why I'm sacrificing the things that I sacrifice right now. If you hear the name Buffett, if you hear the name Winfrey, if you hear the name Gates, if you hear the name Zuckerberg, if you hear the name Rockefeller, what do those names mean to you? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear those names? Right? It's success, it's prosperity, it's wealth, it's business, it's billionaire, those are the things that come to mind. How did those people put themselves in position to have those things? Those people sacrificed. Sleep. How many of you guys are willing to sacrifice a little bit of sleep so you can build an empire for your family, get money as an issue out of the way for your family? I run on about 5 hours a night. Right? I run on about 5 hours of sleep at night. Usually in bed by 11:30, something like that. Probably finally get to sleep around 12:30, and I'm up usually by 6:30. Like about 5 hours a night. is what I run on. But some people are so freaking tired that you can't afford anything but poverty in your life. Some people are so freaking tired that they can't afford anything but poverty in their lives. And these people are operating on 9-10 hours of sleep. I know people who get off work, get in the bed at about 6 o'clock, stay in the bed from 6 until 6 in the morning, and are too tired to do anything, right? Won't sacrifice a little sleep to make sure that the babies are raised right. Won't sacrifice a little bit of time to make sure that the babies are raised right. Right? We have the ability and we can control the outcome of what we want if we are willing to make some tough sacrifices, guys. That's what this thing comes down to. One thing that we have to stop sacrificing is we have to stop sacrificing our dignity and our integrity. Right? Because we're sacrificing our dignity and our integrity all the time. And what we're getting in return is a bunch of baloney. It's a bunch of baloney. So what I'm saying to you guys is, in order for us to change our situation, you have to be willing to sacrifice. Give you an example. And I heard Dr. George C. Frazier say this all the time. He's one of my virtual mentors, right? I got a lot of virtual mentors, people that I look up to, people that I study, people that I follow their works. And he said, you know what? We're in a situation where, as a father, I raised 5 sons as a father. I got 5 sons of my own. I also raised a nephew and a cousin, right? So that's 7 boys that have come through my house. So I heard him say one time, he said, we as men, while we are complaining to our sisters about laying down with deadbeats and creating these children with deadbeats and bashing them over the head and all of that, yeah, that we should be kind of trying to help them understand what they're doing when they do that. But at the same time, while we're trying to scold them, make sure that you take one of their kids and bring them into your household and raise one of them as your own. He said, look at where you are financially. Yes, take care of your children, but those who have the means, adopt another child or 2. And I'm not talking about go to the state and fill out any paperwork. I'm talking about take another child or 2 that is in a situation. And I'll tell you that the cousin that we raised, it was so weird that his parents moved out of state. His mom's going through some stuff as that transition was happening. He wasn't ready to change. He was, hey, come live here, go to school here. We put you through high school, helping them through college and all that kind of stuff. And it turns out that he's not even related by blood, because DNA testing showed that he wasn't even related by blood. But none of that matters. None of that matters. I have the means, and then when I say means, it's not money, because we don't have a lot of money, but I had room in my house because I came from a generation where Big Mama had the house and all of Big Mama's children stayed in the house with all of their children. So yes, you had entire families living in one room inside a bigger house. So I'm from the family that says, you know what? We got plenty of room. I don't care if all 3 of the bedrooms are occupied. We've got plenty of rooms, because we came from households where you would take a 10 by 10 room and you would put 2 bunk beds in there. So that's 4 beds. And then you might have somebody else sleeping on the floor in that room, 2 or 3 others. So I said, we have the room. You come stay here. Finish out your school here, and we're going to help you in whatever way that we can help you. And it turns out he's not even family related by blood. Because DNA tested, said he wasn't family, but none of that mattered. So Dr. Frazier is famous for saying, Those of us who have the means, let's stop complaining about those of us who not, those who didn't make the right choices, those who didn't do the right thing and got these children. If you got the means, take one or two of those children and raise them as your own. Because we know that what the prison and industrial complex is doing. A lot of brothers who mean well are jammed up. So their children are out here running amok because mom is doing her best to figure out how to make ends meet, right? So we can sacrifice some of our comforts to bring some of these other children in and say, you know what, if 10,000 of us did that, that would speak volumes to the children who are going wayward, right? The children who are going wayward, so we can help in that regard. So, but we got to be willing to sacrifice, right? Right now, I'm looking to do the same thing. I've got, my youngest son is 15. My youngest son is 15. So my wife and I are counting down the days to empty nest. But let's be real, nest ain't never gonna be empty, right? Because I got nieces and nephews who need a strong father figure in their lives. And chances are one or two of them are gonna move in with us. And that's probably gonna happen until the day I die. Because I'm willing to make the sacrifice to help an entire generation, right? So think about the one cousin that I was able to sacrifice and help, even though he's not related to us by blood. I was able to sacrifice and help him. Now, if he goes on and have children, and they have children, and they have children, and they have children, look at the impact that we were able to have because we made some sacrifices that we impacted several generations of families because of the sacrifice that we made today. See, we have to sacrifice our time and start looking at how the sacrifices that we make today will literally affect our tomorrow. And that's what we're not doing. And it's funny, I see Ray J on. I was listening to Ray J's radio show discussion with Dallas Live yesterday, and one of her guests said something that was very, very profound, and it stuck out like a sore thumb to me. He said, stop asking yourself, what are you going to be doing in the next 20 years? Where are you going to be in the next 20 years? He said, start asking yourself or repositioning that question this way. 20 years from now, what am I going to wish I had done today? 20 years from now, what am I going to wish I had done today? See, what we don't understand is we look at other cultures and how they're thriving. And I know before y'all jump down my throat, man, yes, white supremacy, racism is real. I know that that's a big problem for us, right? But the reason that we were able to come and deal with it and still stand today is because in the spite of all of that, and not because of all of that, in spite of all of that, our ancestors made some tough sacrifices to make sure that we would survive and get through. What I'm saying is we're making the sacrifices in the wrong direction. We're sacrificing time, energy, effort to gain money, to buy junk. And instead of sacrificing the time, energy, and money to love, to build relationships, to look out for one another so that we can build legacies and start looking at 2, 3, 4 generations down the road, man. That's what this thing is all about, right? Other cultures have the same 24 hours a day that we do, right? Yes, as brown and black people in this country and around the world at large, we are oppressed, right? We yes, that is very, very true, right? But when are we going to collectively come up with and implement some solutions and strategies to overcome that oppression? See, I know people who are very conscious of everything that's going on, and in their conscious state, all they do is talk about everything that's going on. Did y'all get that? I know people who are very conscious about everything that's going on, but in their consciousness, all they do is just talk about everything that's going on. At some point, we've got to start implementing some solutions. And all it takes is for a handful of us to make some tough sacrifices. Because the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing, and the reason economic empowerment is my vein, is because for those who are conscious and they're militant, well, guess what? Somebody has to write a check for the military. Those who are conscious and understand the miseducation machine, well, guess what? Somebody has to write a check to build schools. For those who are conscious and know what what we should be putting into our body so that we can elevate our vibrations, well, guess what? Somebody got to write a check to start buying some land so that we can have farms. So my solution, my contribution to the uplifting and the rebuilding of our community is through economic empowerment. Because if I can help create a half a dozen billionaires, then we can start writing some checks for all of these projects and all these other wars and all these other battles that we got to be fighting on all these other fronts. So I am keenly aware that, yes, we are under the gun. Yes, that white supremacy and racism is real, and that has a big effect on what we're doing. But what we have to understand is that white supremacy and racism is a machine. And what we tend to do is look at the faces that the machine benefits. And we focus our attention on those faces instead of the machine, and start creating a machine of our own that's going to counter this machine. See, white supremacy and racism isn't the people who are executing this against us. It's the machine that causes these individuals to think and behave in a certain way, which causes us to think and behave in a certain way. So we have to get our machine together that's running on autopilot. It's going to transform the way we think and behave. That's going to benefit us 100 years from now, 200 years from now, 400 years from now. But some of us can't think past Saturday night because we're not willing to make a tough sacrifice. We're not willing to make the sacrifices necessary to get us out of the jam that we're in. What's the first thing that you do when you find yourself in a hole? You stop digging, right? So when I'm talking about sacrifice, this is what I'm talking about. We are in a hole and we keep digging deeper, deeper, deeper. Every time you spend a dime outside of your community, you're digging the hole deeper for the entire community. And I'm keenly aware that we need some things to be in place in order to make that happen, even because we do have Black-owned boutiques and stores and things of that nature. But we got to get to the bottom line, is to own the land where the resources are extracted to build and produce everything that we need. Right? So we're not quite there yet, but we can still spend the money with the retailers. But then we can start having the conversation with the retailers and say, look, guys, I need you guys to sacrifice your pride and your ego and stop competing with each other and start working together. Who eats more chicken than Black people on this planet? Right? Maybe Southern white people, maybe Southern poor class whites. But if all the Black-owned restaurants, instead of competing with each other, came together and formed a co-op and said, we're going to buy all of our chicken from the same place, that's going to drive down the price. Now we have the ability to distribute the chicken in all of these different restaurants at a cost that's equivalent to all of the other restaurants. But we're in this competition mode. And then you take that same co-op and say, now, not only are we going to buy all of our chicken from the same place, we're only going to buy our chicken from Black chicken farmers. And then the first thing we're going to run into is the fact that there aren't any. And then somebody's going to have to sacrifice their corporate job to go on a farm and become the largest Black-owned chicken farm in the country. Talking about sacrificing. 3, 4 small chicken farms are going to have to sacrifice their pride and ego, stop competing with each other, come together and use best practices and say, okay, here's what your farm does well, here's what my farm does well. We're going to supply all of the chicken to all of the Black-owned restaurants across this country. So we need to come together to be able to produce that amount of chickens so that now our Black-owned restaurants have a producer and a manufacturer to go through. So we got to start taking this thing up the chain. And then that Black-owned farm co-op that comes together, all of those guys come together, then they have to sacrifice with all of the farmers who grow the grain to feed the chickens. Right? The Black-owned meat processing plants will have to sacrifice their ego, their pride, and they have to come together so that they can build a facility big enough to process all the chickens that will be sold in all the Black-owned restaurants across the country. And it has to go from there. So I get that white supremacy and racism exists, but sometimes when you focus so much on the problem, you can't see solutions even when they're right in your face. Sometimes when you stare all day at the problem, 2 things happen. Number 1, you don't see the solutions that are in your face. And number 2, that problem takes on a godlike status. That when you only stare at the problem, that problem gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it takes on a godlike status. So many of us believe white supremacy and racism can't be defeated because for years we've only stared at the problem, and now the problem has become or appears to be so big that it's taken on a godlike status. And then at the same time, some of us are Christians and we don't believe our God is big enough to defeat that God. I didn't say that out loud, did I? So on this show, we're solutions oriented, man. I like to focus on the solution because the same thing happens in reverse. If I only focus on the problems get bigger. Good morning, Clarissa. The problems get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they just keep getting bigger. And then I can't see any solutions. But guess what? As I start focusing on solutions, guess what? The solutions get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the problem starts to shrink. And now those solutions I can apply towards a problem because I can believe that these solutions can work effectively against that problem. Right? So that's what we have to be. I don't downplay the fact that we're struggling with white supremacy and racism in this country. I don't. I know the detriments of that. I know that police brutality is at an all-time high and brothers are dying in the street. I know all of that stuff is happening, right? But at some point, we have to start doing something. We got to start doing something. See, we have enough people talking about the problems, and sometimes they talk about the problem and they make the problem so big, right? We think, you know, if they put a face on white supremacy, they talk in terms of the white man. The white man this, the white man that, the white man this, the white man that. And we make that, the white man, a superhero, right? And we position ourselves as someone who can't overcome because we focus solely on a problem. So here I like to talk solutions. So I just want to throw that out there before I go any further, because I don't want people to think that here's one of these brothers who talking about all the stuff that we need to do, but it's white supremacy and racism. Yes, that is the core problem. That is the root cause of the problem. What are we going to do about it? Is what I'm saying. It's my question to all of those people who keep saying what the problem is. Yes, that is the problem. What are we going to do about it, though? is what I'm saying. So I like to offer solutions that will little by little help us to stand and strengthen and get stronger as we continue to deal with that problem. So you can miss me with all the talk about just that. If that's all you're going to do is talk and point out the problem, and you're not going to offer any solutions, and then when you offer any solutions, you're not going to put a foot forward to help implement those solutions, bye, Felicia. We have to get together with action-taking people who are solutions-oriented and say, yes, we know the problem and we know what the problem is without having to repeat the problem. See, we keep restating the problem over and over and over and over and over. And as we restating the problem, it's digging a dagger in our efforts to overcome the problem. We know what the problem is. We know our enemy. We know this beast of a machine called white supremacy and racism truly exists, and it is behind the scenes that run everything that is detrimental to Black people. Yes, that is the problem. That is stated. So stated, Neely Fuller, rest in peace, Dr. Crest. Come on, that's all of those, you know, Dr. Amos Wilson, Dr. John Henry Clark, all it's stated. The problem is stated. What's not stated are the solutions. What's not stated is an action plan that we're going to be able to sustain long enough to see the effects of. Yes, we have an action plan sometimes, but that action plan is a good 90 days before the people who study white supremacy keep talking about white supremacy, or the white man ain't gonna let us do this, or if we rebuild Black Wall Street, they're gonna come tear it down again. And that takes the momentum out of our solution action, our action steps. Slave could have come out sooner had they all took action earlier. Exactly. Exactly. Right? Exactly. So what I offer is my contribution to my community is economic empowerment. Because again, somebody's got to write a check, man. There's not a single war that has ever been fought that has not been financed. We're trying to fight a war with no finance. Right? So I want to build a team of billionaires, or I'm not saying I want to build a team, but my team is going to link with the team, because believe it or not, there are some wealthy people who are trying to pull strings in our communities to get us on the right path so that we can defeat this machine that we know that is killing us, right? But they need help, right? They need help. So I'm trying to help millions of individual households get money as an issue out of the way so they can start thinking of solutions that will help the next generation overcome this machine that's killing us, right? This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing, because a handful of people, man, don't take all of us, a handful of people with the right mindset and the right amount of finance and the right amount of resources can literally rebuild our communities overnight. Yeah, so you rebuild Black Wall Street even strong. So that's one of the things they keep saying is if we rebuild Black Wall Street, they're just going to burn it down again. Well, what allowed them to burn it down in the first place? So we learn from the past. We don't say don't rebuild it. We say, and in fact, if you know the true history, all of the Black Wall Streets that were burnt down were rebuilt. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 2014. All of them were rebuilt. If you walk down Green Street, and it is I don't know if it's Greenway and Pine. Archer is one of the main streets. Greenwood and Pine, Archer, Greenwood, and Pine, or Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. That's where the word Gap came from in the Gap band, because they were trying to shed light on that subliminally. but I was there. And if you walk down those blocks, now they still own one whole block on both sides of the street. They still own one whole block. It's owned by the Black Wall Street Chamber of Commerce. So they still own one block, all the buildings on both sides of the street, right? But what happened is OSU, Oklahoma State University, has bought a lot of that land. But what they didn't do, because everybody that rebuilt their stores and all that stuff, they put a brick plate, kind of like you have in Hollywood, the Walk of Fame. They put a brick plate to commemorate where that business was and whether or not that business reopened. So when you're walking down those streets, you see a brick block that says reopened and the date that they reopened. And then you see some that says a brick block, this business was here, didn't reopen. But 80% of the businesses reopened. Do you guys know what was a nail in the coffin for Black Wall Street? It wasn't the bombing in Tulsa. It wasn't the burning down in Rosewood. They were rebuilt. Integration killed Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street was rebuilt to the height of where it was within 3 to 4 years after the bombing, and thrived for another 30 years until we were able to cross the tracks and start going to spend our money in their establishments. That's what killed Black Wall Street, not only in Tulsa, Oklahoma, all around the country. It was integration. That's why Dr. King in his old age started to say that I believe that I've led our people to integrate into a burning house. It was integration that killed Black Wall Street all over the world. And that's what's so funny is we were on our way to having an independent, sovereign everything. And that path was interrupted when we were able to integrate and spend our money with them. And spending our money with other cultures is what has destroyed us right now. That's why we see at that point, we were forced to do business with each other. We were forced to do business with each other because we couldn't do business anywhere else. And you have to ask yourself the question, if integration would have existed before or right at the end of slavery during the Reconstruction period, would we have been able to build a Black Wall Street to begin with? Probably not. Because we probably would have, since we was forced to spend with each other, that's why we were able to build those enterprises. Had we not been forced to, we might not have had a Black Wall Street to begin with. So yes, I understand fully white supremacy, racism exists. Post-traumatic slave syndrome is a real illness that we deal with today. That exists. But some conscious folks, all they do is talk about the problems and aren't doing anything to fix them. And sometimes they talk about them almost as if they're bragging about the problem. And that's what is scaring people from joining the movement. Because it's like, shoot, man, if we can't win, that's why everybody is saying who won't join the movement. If we can't beat them, join them. Because you make the problem so freaking big that it seems like it's insurmountable. So the soldiers that we need are saying, hell, we can't beat them, join them. But if you start making your solutions bigger than the problem, right? Everybody wants to be on the winning team. You start making your solutions bigger than the problem and start executing on those solutions. Now people are sitting back on the fence or saying, wait a minute, we could probably win if I join and 3 or 4 other people join and so it's all about sacrifices, man, making some tough sacrifices. Let me go back through the comments stream, man, because I know we had some really good comments. I didn't want to kind of got on a little bit of a rant there. Let me go back and see, because I know Kevin was commenting, a few other people. Let's see, my niece Victoria. Adams, good morning, beloved. Do you help people make business plans? Because it's very important to have one to start a new business. Yes, I outsource that. So Zaki says, do I help make business plans? I outsource that to a young lady that I know. We sit on the board of an organization called Young Biz Kids. And one of the things we take them through is how to get a business plan put together. And she's really good at that. So if you want to send me an inbox and I can connect you to her, or you know, other people, you know, people who need help with that, or if that's something that you do, then let me know. Then we can get people connected to you. But you're very right. A business plan is very much needed. And most of us have business plans like I do. I have them in my head, but you got to get them on paper. You got to get them on paper. We're all family. Blood makes you related. Loyalty makes you family. Thanks for that, Ray J. Let's see. What are you doing right now what you are doing right now is a sacrifice. You could be focusing on your own business, but you are up helping others. Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Kevin. If you guys haven't followed Kevin Boy yet, the Black Health and Wealth Show, very similar to what I do, just bringing knowledge and information with guests and all that kind of stuff to just really kind of help, you know, raise the collective consciousness of our people, man. So Kevin Boyette, the Black Health and Wealth Show, definitely check him out. Let's see, who else did we have? He said, all that wander are not lost. They aren't. They're looking for a leader. Yeah. And nobody wants to sacrifice to lead. And not that we need a leader. We don't need a leader. We need leadership. Right? There's a difference. We don't need a leader. We need leadership. Right? I got an organization over here. You got an organization over there. You got an organization over there. And all these organizations, what are they doing? Fighting with each other? Poaching each other's members from the organization? What do other coaches do with all of their different membership? They have one or two main objectives. And they say, you know what? Here are the objectives for our nation. I don't care what else you do, but whatever you do should be leading your organization to these one or two objectives. And now they don't have to fight as an organization. That organization says, yes, I agree with the objective. Here's the objective for our nation, but I see us getting to that objective this way. And they do it this way. The other organization says, yes, I agree with leadership that says our objectives are this and should be this. I agree that these are our objectives. I believe we can get to those objectives this way. And since both organizations are going to the same objectives, there's no need to compete with each other. But what do? We refuse to sacrifice our pride. And you got the Al Sharpton's organization and Jesse Jackson's organization, and you got the Nation of Islam, you got the Baptists, and all of these different organizations who are in positions or leadership can't agree on the direction or two or three main objectives that we should be going in, and say, you know what, my brother, I see that you are taking our people towards this end goal. You're doing it different from the way I'm doing it, but we gonna meet up at the same place. So it's all good. How can I help you get your people there a little faster? That's what this thing is all about. Sacrificing ego, sacrificing pride to get there. True that some are just trying to find their passion. Yep. So let's see. Your own poor Cortez, that is exactly what these other races do. That's they understand how to work together. Giants do fall. My numbers, by numbers, we can defeat it. Exactly. Yes, you are going to make me cry. Sorry, Clarissa, I don't mean to make you cry this morning. Well, amen, this morning. Not only teaching, but preaching. We are listening, learning, and applying the to life. I appreciate that, Shan. If you guys haven't followed Chandra Colleen, then definitely do that. Fruits of the Spirit. She creates has her own brand of all natural body scrubs and moisturizers and things of that nature, fruits of the spirit. Most suffer inferiority complexes, not realizing it is in them. You're exactly right, because you know, this machine is very, very good at pointing out the things that we don't do well, so much so that all we do is point out to each other the things that we don't do well. And guess what? The things that we don't do well is a small number compared to the things that we do really well. And that's why my network, All Amateur Sports Network, I'm going to shine a light so bright on all the positive things that these children are doing. These children are going to be competing to see who could be more positive than the next kid. And that's going to help change our young people. So, you know, I've got some plans that I'm working on. Slaves could have come out sooner if they had taken action early. So you rebuild Black Wall Street again stronger. Oh, and I was going to go to my point on Black Wall Street falling, and I did go to the point that it failed to integration. But if we're going to rebuild it, and there's a chance that someone could come bomb it, you build a military in simultaneously as you're building your Black Wall Street. See, but nobody wants to talk about that. That, okay, we can rebuild our communities, but we're also going to build us a military. We're also going to build us our own police force to protect that community inside from internal threats, but also from external threats. So that's very key, right? See, what we have to understand is by nature, young men, when they hit age 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, their testosterone is at its height. So the gang banging and stuff that we see, that's a natural function of an extreme amount of testosterone and nowhere to focus all of that extra energy. But if we can start taking them young brothers and saying, you know what? We got to protect our sisters, man. That's what this thing is about. We got to protect our babies, man. That's what this thing is about. So that aggression that you have right now, that ain't for me and you. That's for people who really want to cause us harm, right? If you guys haven't checked out Dr. Boyce Watkins' Black Code Challenge, I want to read it to you because I have it hanging here. And eventually the challenge is, if you memorize all 12 of these things and then send him a video of you saying them from memory, then he will promote your business, promote your video, and that kind of stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. But it says, number 1, we do not steal from one another. Number 2, we do not kill one another. Number 3, we do not sell or offer drugs to one another. Number 4, we do combine our dollars and buy collectively as a group. Number 5, we do protect our own, women and children first. Number 6, we educate our own at every chance. Number 7, we do not fight one another. Number 8, brothers protect brothers and build up one another. Number 9, sisters protect sisters and build up one another. Number 10, brothers protect and build up sisters. 11, sisters protect and build up brothers. 12, we will look for every opportunity to start our own businesses, serving the needs of our people first. That's the Black Code Challenge. Dr. Boyce Watkins. Let's see if I can find the website that you can go to. Black Code Challenge. Memorize the Black Code Challenge and send him a video that you memorized it, and he will promote your business. And you know, you may be able to partner with him. I'm actually gonna, my purpose is to get him on the show. My purpose is to get him on the show and we can connect. And how cool would that be to get one of my idols and one of my mentors, my virtual mentors, on the show talking about that. So you are speaking nothing but the truth this morning. Inspiration on fire. Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, Clarissa, it was integration that killed Black Wall Street all around the country. The moment we were able to go and spend money, had the choice to go and spend money with another culture, we did. And we've been doing it ever since. Ever since. Become a David and get your slingshot. That's what I'm doing, man. I got my slingshot and I got my 5 smooth stones. It's about to go down, right? What is the name of the book that teaches about taxes? The one that we have, if you send me a message, I give you the PDF copy of it. It's Home Business Tax Deductions Made Easy by Dr. Ron Mueller. Also, I don't know if my girl Yvette Best is on. She has a book on the subject, so you can probably get hers as well. Look up Yvette Best on Facebook, friend her, and ask her how you can get a copy of her book. Yvette Armstrong has a book. Yep. 475 tax deductions. Bernard Kamaroff, Lower Your Taxes Big Time. Sandy Botkins. Yep. So Clarissa is on that. Yvette, getting your book. Yep. There you go. I believe in Cortez. Amen. I appreciate that, Washington. I thank you for that, brother. Churches can restructure their status in order to free up the billions they siphon from the Black community. Many gathers, and I like that idea because a lot of money flows through churches. But here's another solution too. They don't even have to restructure their status. A church, what most people don't know, nonprofit organizations can own for-profit entities. So as a nonprofit church, I could own a church's chicken across the street from my church and hire the people who go to my church, the congregation, to work and run that church's chicken. Have you guys ever wondered how the Catholic Church has all of these wonderful cathedrals all over the place that sit empty 24/7, but they are immaculately maintained? Catholic churches have these wonderful cathedrals all over the world that are immaculately maintained, and they sit empty 24/7, except for a Saturday Mass. How do you maintain, how do you keep the lights on in all of these wonderful buildings? How do you pay for the bricks to be stuccoed and all of this stuff 24/7 and the grass cut and all of that? Because the Catholic Church owns businesses. They own businesses. The Black coach, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's Dr. Boyce Watkins. I can't take credit for that. Churches will first need to start financial minutes. Yeah, that is true. Question, bro. I know you told us to buy our kids for Christmas stocks, but you think it's better to buy gold has value? Anything, any asset. Any asset. And I mentioned stocks because they can relate a little bit better to a stock. So if I bought my sons a pair of Jordans and bought them Nike stock, they can immediately make that correlation. They can immediately say, okay, so stock is a part of ownership of the company. So yes, I should be looking for ownership instead of looking for status. Exactly right. Right. So that's one of the things. But yes, I'm an affiliate for Carrot Bars. So I will be getting my son some gold, some grams of gold for Christmas as well. Some grams of gold for Christmas. They use the monies that's donated to upkeep them. Yeah, they have a lot of donation money, but they own a lot of businesses too. The Catholic Church own a lot of businesses. They don't take that much, and well, they do have a lot of donors because they know how to cycle their money. But the Catholic Church owns a lot of businesses. Chances are they not only own that cathedral, chances are they own the blocks that surround that cathedral as well. And that means the businesses and all of that kind of stuff are paying rents and leases to the Catholic Church, and they may not realize it because it's going through a property management company. But most of those churches not only own the land that they sit on, they own the blocks that surround the land that they sit on as well. So all of those properties, those renters, and all that kind of stuff, all that money flows through the church, and that's how they maintain those churches. That's how those churches sit empty all day, every day, right? And don't do nothing. And they don't have to worry about foreclosure on the church, and they're not collecting a building fund and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, the Vatican is a $1 billion entity. Now that is more like $1 trillion. It's It's more like $1 trillion, and I would venture to say it's not even an entity; it's a country. Vatican is $1 billion country, right? Right. The Vatican is its own country, right? Most people don't realize that the Vatican has its own sovereignty. That's why police can't touch them when they go through their deals. They're their own entity. They have their own sovereignty. Most of the other races of churches have more donors. It's because they teach finance, and it includes benevolence. That is very true, right? See, we don't teach money in our churches because we somehow, if we do it a little bit backwards. I believe a lot of churches somehow believe that when they talk about the Beatitudes in the book of Matthew, it talks about being humble and all of those things. And sometimes we as Christians will take pride in poverty. We take pride in poverty. We say things like it ain't no a testimony without a test. Like we always got to be going through and we got to be fighting and all of this stuff, man, and struggling because we equate struggling with humility, right? You don't think there's a lot of humble billionaires out there? See, what people don't understand about money and wealth, you don't get there unless you're a giver. You don't get there without serving. So there are a lot of wealthy people out there who are humble, who do serve, who do give, because giving and serving is part of the wealth equation. If you guys are not on Dr. Dennis Kimbrough's work, he talks about one of the keys to wealth is giving and serving. But we believe that there's pride and struggle, so we kind of wear that as a badge of honor. We wear that as a badge of honor. When if the church taught financial literacy, then not only will the congregations not struggle in their own home, we can be like some of these other churches and have these people who are successful financially giving thousands of dollars per month to the church. But you have people struggling to pay their tithes because they're struggling to keep the lights on because they have no financial wisdom. Even though the Bible has over 2,000 verses on fiscal responsibility and financial principles, but nobody's teaching those, right? You know, if you haven't gone to check out Clarissa and I did a show early on in the episodes of Faith and Finances where we talked about a lot of this stuff. So go to the early archives. You can go to Stitcher.com to download the archives of the show, take them as an MP3. You can also go to Blog Talk Radio to download them if you like Blog Talk Radio there. But we talked about a lot of this stuff on that show and how we have to do different as a body of Christ to bring the truth. So I like to say it like this. It took me all of 3 seconds to get saved. Right? To accept Jesus Christ as my personal Lord and Savior. It took me all of 3 seconds. Now I got to live saved. And it's hard to live saved when you're struggling financially. Right? So now my afterlife is secure. I'm going to heaven because I made that decision. But now I've got to spend another, for me, I don't know about for you, I'm 42, so I got another 80 years on this earth. Right? Another 80 years on this earth. So for me, I got another 80 years on this earth where I have to be in the world without being of the world, but being in the world requires that I have a sound financial IQ. So after you take people to getting their afterlife squared away, help them get their today life squared away. And it's more to life than not being a sinner, because that's all churches teach is don't sin, don't sin, don't sin. Well, hell, when I don't got no money, the temptation to sin is very, very real. It's aggressive and it's there. And I know God will give me a way out so I don't be tempted. I have to live with the temptation, but start teaching financial principles and strategies. In fact, guys, this Saturday, we're doing a brunch and learn. If you're in the St. Louis area and you want to come over to Covenant for Life Christian Church, Saturday at 9 a.m., we're doing a free breakfast. 10 a.m., we're starting a free wealth building workshop where I'll be teaching a lot of the principles and strategies that you guys hear me teach on this show. You can come get it live, 7200 West Florissant, right in the heart of Jennings, Missouri. I forgot to give that out this morning, but that's what we're doing. So you guys can come on out and be a part of that. Money is spoken about more in the Bible than any other subject, but we don't want to admit it. It wasn't an accident that money is spoken about that much. Good message. Shoot, no money, you will steal from the right, Clarissa. She said, no money, you will steal from the church. Talking about don't sin, but if I don't got no money, yes, I will steal from the church. So guys, that's it. I didn't mean to go on this rant, but guys, we got to start making some sacrifices in our lives. One of the, I forget who it was who asked about buying stocks for Christmas or buying gold for Christmas. That's a sacrifice. You know why? Because you know what your children want. You know your children want the PS4, but you're going to give them 4 grams of gold instead, which might cost you the same thing, but they don't understand that the PS4 is going to lose value the minute you unpackage it. The gold is going to appreciate in value. And if they hold those 4 grams of gold and pass them down to their children, those 4 grams of gold will be worth 100 times what the PS4 is worth. But we got to make that sacrifice so we can start having that conversation. Right? Sacrifice the Jordan shoe for the Jordan stock. You can tell your son, you know what? I know you wanted those 5s that came out on Saturday. But instead of spending $200 on the 5s, I was able to buy you 4 shares of the stock. Nike stock is trading around $52. I was able to buy you 4 shares of Nike stock. Now, as everybody else go and buy those 5s, your stock price is increasing. Your ownership value is increasing. And you start the conversation about the power of ownership. So now when you go and buy your next pair, you're actually buying from your own company. Now, when you go out the house, Nike down from head to toe, you're promoting your own company. When you see folks standing in line around Foot Locker at 2 or 3 in the morning, you know that they're doing that to buy shoes from your company. You start teaching them the power of ownership. And then at an earlier age, they start sacrificing to be owners early on. They start taking their little allowance. Well, you guys shouldn't be giving your kids allowances. You should be paying them a wage to work in your business. But they start taking their little pennies, their little coins, in my Tamar Braxton voice, right? Taking their coins and start to invest so they can become owners. That's where our power is, guys, right? You know, we talk about wealth and biblical scriptures. There's a scripture that says the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous. How do you get it, though? You get it through enterprise. The wealth of the riches is laid up for the righteous, but how does the righteous get it if the righteous is financially illiterate? That's how the wealthy, that's how the wicked keep it, because they have the financial literacy. We start educating ours on financial literacy. I got a plan to open up liquor stores all throughout our Black community. And you're probably saying there's enough liquor stores throughout our Black community. Yes, there are, but we don't own them. See, what I'm going to do with the money that I get from the liquor store is take that money and create the treatment centers that the alcoholics need. Because I used to drink alcohol. And I remember there was a time where I wanted to stop and I needed a treatment center. So I can take the money from the alcoholics and use that money to pay for their solution to get them off alcohol. She said, noted from yesterday. Right. So that's how the wealth of the wicked, one way that the righteous can get the wealth of the wicked that's laid up for you, you got to understand financial principles. You got to use enterprise to get it. Right. I can invest in money in tobacco companies. And I know tobacco companies sell tobacco to children, which I hate. Right. But I can take the profits from those investments in those tobacco companies and build community centers that give kids an outlet to exercise and do things of that nature, which will cause them to be less likely to use cigarettes. So it just takes some righteous people to have wealth. It takes some righteous people to understand financial literacy. The wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous. But if you don't have financial literacy, you'll never be able to get it from them. So that's why I teach the way I teach and talk the way I talk, because I want you guys to understand that we have solutions. We just need to create an army of people who are ready to make the right sacrifices to execute those solutions. And I believe we have that team growing in my network, in my financial health membership. You guys can grab that for $100, $35 a month. But in that membership, I have people, I attract to me people who are wealth conscious, but also community conscious. And those people are getting their households together like I'm getting my household together. And it's not going to be long. I'm talking about 6 to 12 months from now where we're all going to be able to say, you know what? I got $10,000 for your project. Not only do I have $10,000 for your project this month, I got $10,000 for your project every month. See, somebody got to start writing checks for us to rebuild our community. You cannot empower a community. You cannot develop a community without capital. And you cannot empower a community economically unless you first empower the people in that community economically. And that's what my main program is all about, Financial Health Mentor. But then I have a lot of things under that umbrella that's going to help me put the 4 pillars in place to raise to $1 billion so that I can be the one sitting back writing checks to get all of these programs off the ground so we can start fighting these mini battles on all of these different little fronts. And if you keep winning little battles, eventually you will win the war. And that's what this thing is all about for me, guys. So I thank you guys for listening. Appreciate you guys for tuning in each and every morning. If you have a business and you want to support our Amateur Sports Network's coverage of the 2016 Normandy Holiday Invitational, I want you guys to really consider that. For as little as $50, guys, you can sponsor a package. I'm going to blast your brand throughout all of our media coverage of that event. On my website, you'll be sponsors for the show, Talking Money in the Morning Live. All of that kind of stuff. I have packages available for every budget, man. $50, guys, and you can use my digital marketing brain, my branding and marketing expertise to get your brand in front of not only the people who are going to be live at those games, but we're streaming live pre-game, halftime, and post-game shows where your information can be in front. If you want to be a major sponsor, I have a big old step and repeat that all of the shows will be broadcast in front of. If you want to be a major sponsor, you can actually get your logo on that step and repeat, and every show that we do will be streamed in front of this thing, so your brand will be put out in front of those people as well. I appreciate that, Cleverest. I don't know if I sent you the information yesterday, but I'll send it over to you this morning. And I'm creating this media umbrella because we have to start owning media, and we have to start telling the positive sides of our story from our perspective. And even when we do the negative things, you notice how if when Dylan Roof went in and shot those 9 people in that church, what was the narrative? He wasn't a monster. He wasn't a terrorist. He was a sick kid who was going through some stuff and was off his meds, or whatever the narrative they created. See, we don't get to tell that narrative of our children if they do something heinous. We don't. There's no combating that. The first thing they're going to do is go find a picture of our child who may have had a rag on his head or looking like a thug or something, and they create the narrative and help to create that he's a monster. But we got to have positive media on the positive things that our children are doing, because every time they do something, if they do something heinous, or if they do something negative, we should be able to combat that. So when the mainstream media says this kid is a monster based on this one act, then our media, we should already have coverage of those children doing all the positive things in the community. Say, hey, this kid was a volunteer here. This kid was a straight A student. Look at this article that was written up on this kid as he joined the National Honor Society. Look at this kid on the sports field. Look at this kid volunteering at the homeless shelter. So we have this narrative to paint against that narrative and say, hey, we have 50 things of this kid going down the right path. He made one mistake. He made one mistake, and we can't crucify him based on the one mistake and define his entire life based on the one mistake. But we don't have someone fighting for our kids on that way and that side, creating the narrative, telling our story, right? Every story of success that our children see in media on TV, they see it coming from the perspective of someone being a drug dealer, or even if they are in a business of some sort of their own, they have their own business, there's some shadiness going on, showing that people, even when you're in your own business, you have to do something shady in order to have success in your own business. There's some sort of hidden path to all that kind of stuff. Miss me with that, man, because this entire country was stolen, right? The narrative of this entire country, all the old money that exists today is blood money. So stop it. But we don't have media to control that narrative for ourselves. And that's what All Amateur Sports Network is going to be about, starting with the world of sports, because that's an easy thing for me to get into. People are excited about sports. Parents will watch their kids' games and things of that nature. But eventually, we will start to produce better stories so we can tell our side of the story. Also, our kids need to see themselves as better. Exactly right. And that's what this thing is all about, man. Because we know kids who play sports are less likely to do drugs, they're less likely to be become teen parents, they're less likely to drop out of school. So if we heighten and highlight those positive activities, then more and more children will want to stick it out. And that's what All Amateur Sports Network is about. So I appreciate you guys who are planning to buy a sponsorship package. Even if you don't have a business and you just want to buy a package just to support me, I appreciate that too. 10% of all the proceeds will go to my host school, which is Normandy High School, will go to their athletic department. So I'm giving, and then I'm also my official nonprofit partner is Young Biz Kids, which is a nonprofit organization that teaches entrepreneurship to children. So we're giving part of the proceeds to that organization as well. And we're actually going to have a lot of the kids doing some of the broadcasting and journalism work as we cover that event. So it's going to be super cool, guys. I'm super excited. I just need a few dollars to get some more equipment and get some things in place so that we can do a really good job of covering this thing, because I believe that I can be in probably 50% of the schools in the St. Louis area with this positive press, because that's how I present it to the schools, is that, hey, All Amateur Sports Network is positive press for your athletic program. So with that, guys, appreciate it. We did almost 90 minutes today, and I didn't mean to keep you guys this long, but think sacrifice. What can you sacrifice today to make sure that your kids will be proud to have your last name? I'm your man, H Cortez, financial health mentor to the working class. Until I talk to you guys tomorrow, I want you to get your money up, because you absolutely can do it. Peace out, people.